Hi, my name is Ken Lasseson. I wrote the Microbiome prescription website. And recently, some comments, other things, I felt it was time to try explaining by analogy, by parable, what it is about the microbiome. Because people often comes in with naive expectations as to what should be happening, how things work in the microbiome. So I'm going to basically do a comparison between two things. One is the microbiome. The other thing is financial. So I'm going to look at past choices, how they influence where you are, evaluating your current situation, setting goals, going over the fact that improvements are not simple, and then looking at constant revisits and change. It's not a one-shot you fixed, as you will see, because of the analogy I'm going to be using. So basic analogy is microbiome health is very similar to financial health. Hey, everybody knows how to deal with money to a greater or lesser degree. Some of you don't want to deal with money and you try to ignore it until the debt collectors knock on your door. That may actually be a good analogy for your microbiome health. You ignore your microbiome until the debt collectors start knocking on your door, be it Crohn's disease or UC or some other conditions. Actually, I view the microbiome health as actually being more complex than the financial health, which is a horrible feeling for many people. I mean, today's financial world is complicated how it is. Past financial decision impacts your current state. Your spending habits 5 years ago may still have consequences today. Your eating habits from 5 years ago may still have consequences today. Often, that can happen. That lovely new BMW you got when you left university thinking you were going to have sky-high salary and you didn't, you still have to pay it off or pay the debt, the balance on it still, and it may be a high interest because you believe the salesman. We must look forward to handling other things like retirement, unexpected crises, and unexpected unemployment, or the financial equivalent. The health equivalent or microbiome equivalent, or guess what? Age. And other thing is a virus or a bacterial infection. The state of the best example is COVID. The Chinese had an ongoing microbiome study, and they discovered, and the study was going on before COVID came along, and the result was they could look at the severity of COVID and the person's prior microbiome state, and they found there was strong correlation with how severe, or in fact, if death happens, based on, they could predict the severity from the prior person's microbiome state. That it has the impact of unexpected crises in terms of the financial. So, same basic parallelism between the two of them. Now, past choices, sometimes I refer to it as everyone did it and they don't have problems, which is monkey see, monkey do, monkey 1 is sitting happy up a tree, monkey 2 is trapped and on the way to a zoo. Doing blind imitation of others without understanding consequences is a high risk activity. I won't say dumb, it's high risk. People often do it because by imitating others, they get social prestige. Unfortunately, it can come at a very significant cost. Okay, blind imitation, past events. For examples of past financial event is buying new prestige cars, could be every 2 years. I have known people who have done that. Vacations every year, not just in the US, but to Europe, etc. Basically, people often have good incomes, but they live in hand to mouth, or hand to next vacation to be more precise. They want to live in a popular area, so they end up renting in a very popular area. with premium rents, etc. And, well, yes, they're maybe an MD, but they got their degree by doing a mountain of student loans, which are still having to pay for, or a simple high school teacher who is approaching retirement and still has a massive amount of student loans to pay off. Microbiome, things like eating prime cut steak, a high beef diet early in life. If you're an Aussie, that is a particular great risk. Lots of drinking, lots of spirits, lots of processed foods, chemicals in your environment. If you're working in an environment where there is a lot of chemicals involved, that can impact the microbiome. And so all these events impact your financial health today. They occur in the past. You can't undo them. They have happened. You can't suddenly say, okay, oh, well, I have my car loan, but I decided not to have the car, so I'll just drive the car back to the dealership and leave it there, and the loan disappears. Sorry, it doesn't. The car value ain't going to be enough to cover the current payments off because the car depreciates, and often the value of the car depreciated is less than outstanding balance, which means you're still stuck with it. So you have to be a little bit more aggressive. Okay, now, similar with the microbiome, the fact that you now have a ton of fat in your arteries and plaque in your arteries from your past eating habits, you can't just simply say, oh, well, I'm not eating any more prime cut steaks and the problem will disappear. Sorry, it doesn't quite work like that. So let's go on to the current situation. Financial, you have loan payments. You may have an increase of rent happening, which you can't afford. You have inflation pressure. And it goes on and on and on. Your current situation is, do you have money to go out with friends, or do you have money to take a vacation? Do you have not money enough to eat reasonable food? All those are current financial pressure. In terms of the microbiome, the consequence could be SIBO, GERDs, IBS, IBD, or other inflammatory conditions. Inflammation on one side, inflammatory on the other. So you're in a state. Generally, when you finally come to your senses and start looking at the microbiome, you have problems already. Similar when most people don't look at the financial situation until they have problems. Some people, for one reason or another, for example, for me, for the financial and for the microbiome, it came out of learning from my parents or my grandparents, particularly for the financial. So the result was I was very aware of financial issues all the way through. So I ended up graduating university with actually a balance in my bank account. And I worked for 40 hours a week all the way while doing university, and juggled my courses and picked courses so that everything would work. Most of my classmates didn't, and many didn't end up with student debt, some of which they still, even with my gray hair, are still paying off. Okay, and what is your goal? The goal financially is reduce debt payments, live within your means, keep within your capabilities. Don't go and try to imitate the neighbor and get yourself into debt. Save for future and unexpected events. For example, oil price increase, new taxes, inflation increasing, company having to reduce hours. All those are potential financial ones. In terms of the microbiome, well, you want to reduce symptoms. You probably want to eat appropriately for the microbiome, which is the same thing as living within your means. It's the same thing. And you want to prevent progression. You don't want things to get worse, and they will often get worse if you don't address it. Many people with IBS ends up going on and getting Crohn's or UC as a result. There's a great overlap of the bacteria between the two of them, and one progresses to the other often. Not every time, but often. So the goal is you want to better your financial situation or your microbiome situation. Now, improvement is not simple for either. And that is often the hard fact people struggle to accept. They want quick, easy financial one. For financial, you may have to go into do debt counseling. Oh, no. There's lots of face going to debt counseling for many people, so they won't go out to do debt counseling until it's really forced. You may have to reduce spending. No more season tickets for your favorite team. And handling your financial situation is not slow. It may take many years. And you may have to do things like cutting up credit cards so that you don't do it. Yes, you still have a credit card balance, but you cut up the card so you don't add anything to it. Microbiome, just as with debt counseling, you may have to get diet counseling. Again, some people reject doing that for whatever reasons, perhaps because it seems to be a sign of weakness or whatever. Eat healthy for you, not eat healthy for you, which is specific to what you state. Reduce spending means different things for different people. Some cases, cutting certain things out, eating healthy is the same. It is specific for you. Again, it's slow. It can take many years. And instead of cutting up credit cards, you may be cutting out certain foods and drinks. And in some cases, it is when you're visiting somebody, you are basically having to take reduced portions or decline some of the foods that are being served. Because certain types of food you may want to totally eliminate, and you may have to educate your friends that, sorry, I'm coming over, but I can't have any of the following, which again will be a bit of a challenge. In some cases, it will try friendships, but if they are a good friend, they will, or family, they will try to oblige you as much as possible, or you pack away your own thing, or you cut your visiting hours to avoid meals for whatever excuse you happen to come up with to avoid having to eat. It's not simple. It's a struggle. And next thing is constant revisit and change. Many people think it's a one-time shot. Okay, do it once, got the information is good forever. The microbiome is like financial. Every month, your financial situation is slightly different. You get a new credit card statement, you got everything else, you got new bank balances, and you should constantly revisit and review the statements and the budget, constantly revising the budget. Microbiome is doing regular microbiome tests, seeing what has changed, revising your diets, and in some cases other medical tests, for example, for cholesterol, or even doing things like blood pressure testing. For both, there are extreme actions available to help you out of your dilemma, the crisis. Financial, bankruptcy. But remember, bankruptcy doesn't erase all debt, only some of it. Some debts will still persist even after you declare bankruptcy, depending on your jurisdiction. Extreme action for microbiome is fecal matter transplant, which may solve many of the problems, but bacteria are persistent and the problem you're dealing with may still return. And in some cases, actually, you have more problems because the fecal matter transplant has contaminants or has a bias to it which doesn't work with your actual personal DNA. So both of them have extreme actions available. In general, we don't want to do extreme actions. So for guidance, this is where people often simplify life. If you're dealing with financial, hey, you go to YouTube or whatever you do for social media, and you listen to an influencer. They know what to do. See, they're doing well. Look at the big cars they drive, etc. And listen to their advice and follow them. Borrow your money from your credit card and buy Bitcoin. That will solve all your financial problems. Absolutely guaranteed. So say aye. And if it doesn't, well, that's your choice. Cough, cough, cough. You can get financial advice from friends, your at work, etc., or from the internet, or you could use a licensed financial advisor. And catch is, licensed financial advisor requires a certain amount of training and has financial obligations by law of what they advise you on. On the side of the microbiome, hey, listen to influencer. Buy Gut Fix. It's expensive, but it's worth it. And if it doesn't work, well, there's no money back guaranteed on it, or if there is, you discover it's hard to actually get the money back. You can get treatment advice from friends or on the internet. Same type of thing as for financial, same type of advice. Or you can use a licensed medical professional, an MD, a naturopath, a dietitian. Again, being licensed means they have had training. Whether or not it's appropriate is always a good question. But they are trained to some degree, and they have a legal obligation. The other ones has no legal obligation. So there's a question with giving advice with no consequences or giving advice with potential consequences. Then you get on to the key question: who owns the decision? For financial, do you educate yourself and then decide? Or do you simply trust and hope and go on the advice that you were given? Advice which may have very little information about you, and it is sort of canned cookbook advice, and it works for me, it should work for you. Or same thing for the microbiome. Do you educate and decide, which means you have introduced learning, which is a pain, or you simply trust the person and hope? Again, that's your choice. Information sources. Well, you can go and read books on financial planning, etc., which generally is good for giving historical information, historical approaches, which is good, is informative. Also, unfortunately, means reading. Usually, web pages don't provide enough information to do a good job. And then you hit financial pages. At one time, I remember opening up the newspaper, and there was 2 pages of financial ups and downs, our stock market, etc. Today, you do it on the internet. With the microbiome, again, we have books, again, which gives historical information. Often you want to be careful of when the book was published and the credentials of the person who's the author. The person could be an influencer, and basically his goal is to sell books, not necessarily give robust advice. Or we now go on to the U.S. National Library of Medicine and a variety of professional studies. At this point, I should mention the site I've created, Microbiome, is effectively a card catalog to make it easier to find the information for you to make decisions from. It is not intended to make decisions for you. It's a free site, so there is no back-selling of products that it makes money from. It's supported by donation. It's a card catalog. And intent is to help you take ownership and make better informed decisions with more information. So, going forward to actions. Well, financial. Well, hey, look at all your credit card statements. It keeps tossing at you special offers. Oh, good. Let's do the special offer. Question is, who prospers from it? Yes, you get a $50 check if you spend $5,000 on this new credit card in the first 6 months. So you get a $50 check back. But you have to now go and start racking up things, and you may not have a cash flow to pay off the balance in full every month, and you get a $50 check, but you get $500 of interest payments over time. Or you could go to bundles of, for example, if you have a little bit of surplus money and you want to have it grow, you could put it into a bank account, you could put it under your bed, you could put it into mutual market funds, which are bundles of individual stocks, or you can buy individual stocks for it. Again, many choices. Whatever you decide upon it should be reviewed by a professional, just so that any naivete or overly optimistic expectations are hopefully moderated, so that you are not going and naively jumping for joy because you have the magic solution. Microbiome, you don't get statements, but you do need to get tests done regularly. Now, for myself, where test companies make suggestions, I often ask the question, who prospered? And this who prospered has two sides to it. Side one is they're going to try to sell you product. They can, in some cases, it would appear that they could almost give the test away for free and make a business out of selling the products that the tests recommend. In other words, it's just basically a loss leader. Other cases, the suggestions are coming because people are asking for suggestions, and the company believes that if they don't provide suggestions, any suggestions, they will use business. So they go and they simply create suggestions using very coarse methodology or assumption without investing time in figuring out what suggestions should be made and why and what evidence support them. Microbiome Prescription makes suggestions, and we at least try not to prosper from our suggestions, apart from getting reports back of people getting better. But we also make our suggestions showing the complete evidence chain which we use. We're suggesting that you take this substance because it will reduce cis bacteria you're too high in and will improve cis bacteria you're too low in. And hence we suggest that based on, here's a study which we got the information from, and you can go and read the study yourself. And you can see if you agree or disagree with it. And if you find something is wrong, contact us and we will sit down and figure out what the problem is. Did we miss a study? If so, we'll add it into our logic, which means that the next person or yourself, when you go and redo it, will get a better set of suggestions. Or B, we will correct it if we have done a data entry. And yes, we do data entries. Our expectation is just 90 to 95% correct, but because we're using fuzzy logic, those errors are expected to have very low impact on the suggestions. And as stated, action plans should be reviewed by a professional always. The suggestions for microbiome prescription often contain things which may be inappropriate for other medical conditions. Hence, get it reviewed by your professional to ensure that it is compatible with other drugs you're taking, etc. And their liability is of the professional to review. Microbiome prescription basically does a calculation. I do not make the suggestions. AI computes the suggestions using a fuzzy logic expert system, which is, I used to try shouting from the rooftops. Basically, it's not me figuring things out. It's an AI who does a good AI, which seems to be working quite well. So, microbiome prescription. It is not an advice provider or consultant. We do not do consults. We have no intention of ever going into the consult business. We will do public blog posts looking at somebody one and explaining the logic that is being used to come up with suggestions, mainly so that you can empower yourself. Just like a blog on a person's financial situation says, okay, this person has so much debt here. Here are suggestions of what they should do. And that is, there are suggestions to be done, but those suggestions in terms of financial situation should be reviewed by financial consultant, preferably licensed consultant, so that you know that it is reasonable, that there's not some aspect of the blog post which has been missed or not understood, or which the blog post doesn't have the expertise to deal with it. You have a particular medical conditions, that's nice. I have no idea of it because the suggestions comes purely from microbiome data and not any diagnosis data. Okay, so that is my little bit of trying to explain what it takes to fix the microbiome by using a financial health analysis to show the similarities and the frustrations of doing it. You're basically, if you are dealing with microbiome health, you are effectively in financial distress, but in terms of a microbiome. And you have the same problems of having to get out of it as you would with financial distress. Yes, the solution could be going out and buying lottery tickets constantly and hoping you win. Yes, you can go out and buy products constantly and hoping you win. You may, some people may, and of course those that win will praise buying lottery tickets as the solution of all your financial problems. Well, that's your choice to believe or not. Okay, I'll shut up now and get this posted.